Good evening, Cheney Baptist Church. I hope you guys are having a great day so far. This is actually going to be taken on a Friday, so it's a little cold today. I don't know how cold it's supposed to be on Sunday. But you might be wondering, why am I on top of a windmill? Well, there's a very logical explanation for that. Truth is,
What is he doing up there?
even though I think that's a really good reason, there's also the reason because I think it's awesome that now that we're doing things a little bit online, that we can actually bring the audience with us wherever we want. So for example, in the past, if I wanted to bring the church to my windmill, chances are I couldn't bring everyone on top of the windmill. But I can grab a camera, I can climb up on top of the windmill, and I can bring you guys with me that way. So today we're actually going to do things a little different. We're going to leave the church building and we're going to go to the lake because I have a story I want to tell you guys. And it's a little cold today. It's Friday when I'm recording this, so Sunday I think it's supposed to be a little warmer. So today it's really cold. It snowed last night and it's springtime, so that's great. But anyway, so I'll go ahead and take you guys to the lake. Alright, so now we are going to the lake, and this is another good example of how using a camera we can actually bring the audience wherever we want. For example, we don't have like a gigantic mega church, but I'm pretty sure the church will not fit in my car. So I actually have a cameraman with me, but because of the coronavirus we're making sure his face is secret. So handsome. I think he looks better this way, honestly. But actually, before we get to the lake, I think there's a little bit of a context to why we're going to the lake. I think I should tell you guys the context. When I was in college, I was going to a community college, and at the community college, I used to go to this Bible study. And I had things pretty good when it came to scholarships. I had a track and field scholarship, things like that. But the problem was I couldn't work while I was doing track and field. Makes sense. So there were some costs that I couldn't really afford, and sometimes I would think about the future and how I wanted to go to a Christian college after that, and I was always trying to save money, so I was always trying to not spend my money, and as a result, and I did very well by not spending, but as a result, I would do things like try and save gas money. So what would I do to save gas money? Well, I would actually sleep in my car instead of coming home, which was about an hour drive, 45 minutes to an hour drive. So I would actually sleep in my car, and sometimes I wouldn't actually go out to eat or anything like that, so sometimes I'd have to not eat anything all day, and even though I had track practice and stuff like that, and I was doing a lot of exercising, I wasn't eating. And I don't want you guys to feel sorry for me or anything. It was my choice. I chose to do it that way. But I remember after I went to this Bible study, and I thought about sleeping in my car that night, but I was just so tired, I was hungry, so I'm like, I'm going home. So I was driving home, and I had to drive around a lake, so it's called Cheney Lake. And I've been to the Cheney Dam in the past. That's Dam, D-A-M, not D-A-M-N. So I've been to several times in the past, and one time I was just driving after that Bible study, and I felt like God was telling me to go to the dam. And I said, okay, why do you want me to go there? And I just felt like He wanted me to do some praying and just spend some time alone with Him. So I said, okay, God, I'll go. So I went to the dam, and while I was there, I kind of had some questions for God, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So when I got to the lake, I had a lot of questions for God, saying, why am I here? Why did you ask me to come here? And I'm like, I know you want me to pray about things, but what do you want me to pray about? And sometimes I find that when God's silent, that's when He talks the most. You know what I'm saying? Like that's when He communicates the most. Not verbally, of course, but non-verbally. And I realized that there were just some things I needed to pray about, things that I wasn't really trusting God to do. So I started asking God a bunch of these questions like, what do you want me to pray about? Things like that. And then I finally came to this realization that He wanted me to pray about my financial situation. Because the truth was, I wasn't trusting God financially, was I? I was always trying to do things myself. I was always trying to make these sacrifices. And I thought, that's what a good Christian does. That's what a good pastor does. And I wasn't a pastor at that time, but I wanted to be one later on. So I'm like, that's just what a good pastor does. They have to make all these sacrifices. And I thought that that's what God wanted me to do. But as I was praying, as I was talking with God, I realized that God was trying to tell me, Daniel, stop trying to sacrifice. Trust me to provide for you. And that's what I started doing. I started coming to this realization, I need to put my faith in God and put my trust in God and trust that He'll provide. So I mean, I'm walking along this shore, and I was actually down there. And as I was walking down there, and maybe it was just the night sky, and there were so many stars out there, it was so beautiful. I just dropped down to my knees and I said, God, I'm tired of sleeping in my car. God, I'm tired of not being able to eat because I'm over doing track practice, or I'm sleeping in my car. I'm tired of bringing a jug of water to take a bath with after I get out of track practice. I said, I know I'm trying to make all these sacrifices so that I can go to Bible school later on. I know I'm trying to do all these things, but Lord, I just want to trust that you're going to provide. So I said, from this day forward, Lord, I'm just going to trust that you will provide for me. And I remember as I just felt this sense of peace, and I actually picked up a rock. You want to come over here? I picked up a rock like this, and hopefully it's not illegal to steal one of these. But anyways, I picked up a rock like this, and I said, this will be a sign of the promise that I made, that I was going to trust in God no matter what. And I put it in my car. You might think that's just so random. But then as I drove home, I went to grab my bag out of my car, and as I grabbed my bag, I noticed there was a gas container underneath it. And I'm like, what is this gas container doing here? And apparently someone in the Bible study who knew that I was sleeping in my car and stuff gave me gas so that I could go home. Then as I got inside, there was someone, my parents told me, someone just wrote you a check for $1,000. I said, $1,000? Why did they do that? They said God just kept putting it on their heart that you needed money. And I'm like, they didn't know I needed money. They didn't know anything about me. They just felt like God really wanted them to give. And that was just a clear sign to me that God was going to provide no matter what. And He's done it time and time again. And I've always been so grateful knowing that God is my provider. And I think that's a lesson that we can learn too. That no matter what the situation we're going through, God can provide for us. Alright, so for the rest of the video, we're actually going to do it inside because it was kind of windy. I went back and watched some of the audio. In fact, I did more footage outside, and it was just very loud and very noisy. So I'm not sure if you guys can hear that very well. But that was just a personal testimony, and the reason I did it that way was because I really wanted to show you guys how we can start, by making videos like this, we can start bringing the audience to places that we couldn't bring them before. So we can start doing analogies, start doing illustrations, showing them actual sites and stuff like that, places that we couldn't go, because usually when we have services, where do we have them? In the church building. But right now the church building is basically closed down in the sense that we can't have meetings above, I think it's 10 people right now. And if that's true, in fact, my family is more than 10 people, so that's actually funny. I can't even meet with my family. But I mean, some of them are in different states, so I couldn't meet with them anyways. But I don't know what families above 10 are doing right now. But the point is, as the church building is closed to having church services and stuff like that, we've been still doing videos and stuff like that, but I just kind of wanted to show you guys how we can, with the videos, we can go outside of the church and we can be a little more creative in how we do that. And I think it's a good idea. You guys can let me know if you think it's a good idea. You can comment, you can chat, whatever you want, or you can just email us. If you're like, oh wow, I hated that, you can email us. Don't chat that because I don't want other people to see. But anyways, the point is, today we're inside, and I've got a green screen behind me, and there's lots of different effects that we can do, and I've just been amazed by how creative people are getting. And with the green screen effect, sometimes we can duplicate. Hold on. What are you doing?
Oh, sorry. I didn't see you there.
How did you not know that I was recording something right now?
I
don't know why I'm so mean to my cameraman. You're my cameraman. You should be the one behind the camera. Oh my goodness. This is why you should only have the cameraman behind the camera, not in front of the camera.
I'm too handsome to stay behind a camera.
Oh my goodness. I don't know why I'm so mean to my cameraman. Probably because I'm jealous of how good he looks. But anyways, so today we're going to continue the lesson inside. And even though at the beginning I talked to you guys about a personal testimony in which God provided for me, and I kind of want to keep writing on that concept, but also kind of bring it into this particular situation with the coronavirus. And I know you guys are probably hearing over and over and over again this coronavirus, and I bet you're probably tired of hearing about it. But the truth is, it is something that needs to be talked about. Things are happening now that have probably never happened before. And I've heard some terrible stories about things that are happening in churches that are still trying to abide by the law. They're trying to practice distancing, social distancing. They're staying in their cars and stuff like that and trying to listen on the radio. And people are still getting fined and arrested and stuff like that. And I think that's awful. And I'm not saying that you guys should disobey the law or anything like that. But the point is, it's amazing to me. I think this is eye-opening for the church, at least in America, and I'm sure in other places too. I heard people were getting arrested for live streaming in other countries. I don't think that's even right, but of course it's a different culture. But the point is, this should be eye-opening for the church around the world, just how quickly our freedoms, our freedom of speech, our freedom of religion, our freedom to gather and stuff like that, how quickly it can be taken away from us. And again, I'm not saying that we should break the law and try and fight or anything like that. But the point is, I know that the government, they're trying to do this for our safety, and I think that's great. I understand. I respect that. But the point is, this should be very eye-opening on how we should never take for granted the freedoms that we have to gather as a church. And another thing that's been very eye-opening to me, at least, and I'm sure to other people, is how creative people are getting, how we've adjusted to this pandemic, especially churches. And I mean, I'm thinking, it reminds me of when I was in a community college a long time ago. I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago. I was going to the school. I was at the actual campus, and one day it was hot outside, and people were wearing their short shorts. Hopefully, just the girls, not the guys. Hopefully, the guys aren't wearing short shorts. But they were wearing shorts and the sleeveless shirts and flip-flops and stuff like that, and they're walking around, and that's just their casual wear. And then the next day, they're wearing sweatpants and coats because it gets freezing the next day. The temperature dropped like 50 degrees in one day. And if you ever lived in Kansas or in the Midwest somewhere, you're probably used to this rapid change of temperature. And it was just amazing to me to see how they go from one apparel, like how they were dressing and stuff, to the other way, just so quickly adjusting from one day to the next. In fact, I've had that happen in just one day. Just within a few hours, it drops several tens of degrees and stuff like that. And people just adjust so quickly. And I think that the same thing happened for the church. We weren't necessarily ready for what happened, right? Because we were not expecting there to be an epidemic, a pandemic that happened like this, in which churches were going to be closed down so quickly and stuff like that. I mean, churches did not have time to buy equipment. I had pastors from other churches come to our church asking us, what kind of equipment should we buy? What kind of stuff should we do? How are you guys doing it? Because we've actually we've been uploading our videos to YouTube for a long time. We just recently started uploading them to Facebook, but we've had them on YouTube for a long time. And they were just asking us all these things. Why? Because they didn't have that set up. They weren't prepared for what was going on. So I was recommending things to them. But the truth is, churches have really adjusted, have really adapted to the situation. I think that's something that we can really look forward to, is the fact that people are adjusting. No matter what happens to the church, God is always going to make a way for the church to adjust to what's happening. Not to say that we should ever change the gospel, but sometimes we have to change our method. Paul was not live streaming, but I'm sure if there were live streaming when he was alive, he would definitely be taking advantage of that. Because Paul was trying to win the most people he could. He was always trying, and that's the Apostle Paul, by the way. He's always trying to reach more people. He says, I've become all things for all people so that I can win them more and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's just amazing to me to see how people are adjusting to what's happening. I think we should continue to try to be creative, continue to adapt how we're doing things. And then the question becomes, what can we do as a church to grow? And a lot of people, I think we've just kind of thought that this is a time to give up. This is just a time to vacation from church. This is a time where we don't have to do anything, right? I think a lot of people have that mentality right now. They're thinking, oh, no church, I guess I'll just sleep in. Well, we do still have church, right? Because church is not the building. Church is the people. Church is the body of Christ. And we want to continue to meet together, even if it's just through live streaming where you can chat. And I so recommend chatting. I've been so blessed seeing people chatting during the live streaming. And I think it's funny where people are like, you're not supposed to talk during church, but then everyone's messaging during church. And it's all public so people can see that. But I've just been so encouraged by those different messages that people are sending out, and people are just being so encouraging to one another, and I think that's awesome. So that's one way in which we can still grow closer together, is through chatting. Even though we can't be right next to one another, we can at least still stay in contact with one another. And of course, reaching out to people, right? You can still phone call people. especially people who can't get out at all. So people who are very susceptible to the disease, who maybe they're really quarantining themselves very strictly because they don't want to come in contact with anyone. We can still be contacting them, whether through the phone or something like that, or mailing, sending them mail, emails, things like that. So we should still be growing closer together that way. And then, of course, there is reaching out to the rest of the world. And it's something I want to tell you guys. I don't know if you saw the email that the senior pastor sent out, and if you're not on our email list, you can probably contact us and we can put you on the email list. But the truth is, I was looking at the YouTube analytics, and we have almost as many subscribers on YouTube, as many followers, and as many views on YouTube in other countries than we do in our own country, right? I think they said it was like 39% are in the United States. So people in other countries who may never have had the opportunity to come to America, to come to our church, and even if they came to America, Cheney, Kansas is not the greatest place to be. I mean, I think it's a nice small town, but most people are not going to come to our country and be like, oh, let's go to Cheney, Kansas. So anyways, the point is, we have been reaching people who would never have been able to come to our church. They're now being able to see our services. They're being able to see our live chats. They're even able to communicate. I saw people from the Philippines communicating on our live chat last week, and I just think that's so awesome. And maybe they did it this morning. I haven't been there. This video is being pre-recorded, if you didn't know that. In fact, as you can tell from my cameraman, obviously I'm doing some fancy things to do that. I can't do that live stream. But the point is, we are able to reach more people this way than we could before. And I think that's just awesome. And how can we continue to do that? How can we continue to reach out to more people? Well, one way, if you have social media, if you have emails, if you have messaging, one way that you can do that is just share the videos, share the channel, share the Facebook page with other people. I sometimes when I'll make a video or something, I'll share it with a bunch of people through messages, not through Facebook, but just through messaging people the link to the video. And then I've seen people, they're sharing it on Facebook. And again, not everyone has Facebook, but you got emails, you've got messaging. But you can scan through our channel, our YouTube channel, Cheney Baptist Church, and then you can look and see if there's any videos that you like, and you try and share it with people because they might like it. They might like the same things that you like, and if we addressed a topic that you like, maybe it would be a good idea to share it and stuff like that. So sharing is an awesome way to do it. I had someone in the Philippines contact me and said, Daniel, I've been really trying to help your church out. And again, this is someone in the Philippines, not even in America. And they're like, I've been sharing your page with all my friends list. I shared it with every single person, which I thought that was awesome. And then they're like, I've been showing them your channel, and I've been asking them to subscribe. And because of that one person's efforts, we've been able to reach dozens and dozens of more people that way. But the point is, because this person shared these videos, they were able to reach more people that way. And then, of course, watching the videos. This might seem kind of silly, but YouTube actually has a special thing to where it will actually share the videos for us. Not necessarily share it to Facebook or something like that, but they will actually start sharing it to other people, and that's how videos go viral. So why does YouTube share things? Well, YouTube is probably in it for the money, right? They're trying to make money, so they want to advertise. But they can't advertise if no one's going to their site. So what they do is they want people to keep coming to their site, so they're going to keep recommending good content. So how does YouTube tell if a content is good? How do they know what to recommend to people who, they just open YouTube and they start seeing a bunch of pictures of videos? How do they know which videos to share on that page? Well, the way they know this is by how long people have been watching it and how engaging it is. So if people have been watching the video all the way through, if a lot of people have been watching it and they've been watching more than 50%, YouTube thinks, oh, this must be a very engaging video. So they'll start to share it to other people. And we've actually gotten a lot of different views because of that. In fact, I think last time I checked YouTube, it said they shared it with like 1,800 people or 1,800 YouTube pages, stuff like that. And I mean, it was just amazing to think how many people we're reaching this way, all because somebody decided, I'm going to watch the video all the way through, and then YouTube's like, oh, must be a good video, let's recommend it to others. So then they start recommending. And then also liking videos and commenting is also another way in which YouTube knows that it's an engaging video, that people are liking it, and it will also try to recommend it that way. So if you have like a real lazy day and you're like, I don't have anything to do and I'm just so bored, open up our channel, start watching our videos, watch video after video after video, and you can grow our views. And then once you grow our views, YouTube will start recommending it to new people. So these are different ways in which we can actually start to grow our church globally. And I think that's awesome. So how does this relate to what I was talking about earlier? Well, I think personally, I think God put me in that situation where I'm talking about how I was sleeping in my car and I was trying to make all the sacrifices so that I could afford Bible college the next year. I think the reason God put me in that financial situation is because He wanted me to lean on Him. He wanted me to adjust what my thinking and start to think the way He thinks and start to just trust in His plan. And I think that's something we can learn during this epidemic, during this pandemic, is sometimes we're trying to make all the sacrifices. Sometimes we're trying to do all these things, but really, sometimes not sometimes, all the time, we need to realize that we need to come to God, right? We need to come to God in prayer and ask Him, God, what is not my will, but what is your will? And then in the story of Joshua, he's about to go to Jericho and he's about to try and take down the city, stuff like that. And he gets visited by an angel of God, and he's talking to this angel and he's like, are you for us or against us? And I love the answer that the angel gives. He says, neither. I'm not for you or against you. And we might look at that and be like, what is he talking about? Certainly he's for the children of Israel. These are God's people. But the thing is, we get sometimes confused about God and His role in our life. Sometimes we think God is supposed to be for us, right? Well, God's not necessarily supposed to be for us. He's not supposed to be working for us. We're supposed to be working for Him, and we're supposed to be partnering with Him in His plan, not the other way around. And sometimes we get that confused. So instead of actually starting something like a ministry and thinking, oh yeah, I'll just do this and God's going to bless this ministry, instead we should be praying and saying, God, what ministry do you want us to do? Where are you working and where can I partner with you? Because remember, we're supposed to be with God. We're supposed to be for God. God's not necessarily supposed to help our plans. We're supposed to be working according to His plans. And I think that's something that we can learn in this situation.